Hello, everybody. Welcome to Adventures in EOS. My name is Hillary, and this morning, I'm going to chat about something that's been really kind of prevalent for me in the last couple weeks, and it has everything to do with using essential oils to support myself while I am choosing not to drink alcohol. So just to get really real for a second, alcohol is or has been a big part of my everyday routine. I grew up in a household where my grandparents owned vineyards, and so we had wine all the time when I was growing up. Not me necessarily, but my parents did at every meal. And so then as I became an adult and a parent, that was a normal thing for me to include in my everyday must-haves. So getting ready for dinner, coming home after school with my kiddos, it's automatic for me to grab for a bottle of wine or a glass of wine and just incorporate that as kind of my cool down of the day, as kind of my take it a notch down, take a breather. It's been a long day. It's now time to just sit back and relax with a beer or a glass of wine or whatever my choice of alcoholic beverage might be. But I'm getting to a point where I'm noticing every morning if I have had something to drink, and for me it has been kind of an everyday thing, when I wake up the next morning, I don't feel the best. That's a logical give and take, right? If I'm drinking every night, I'm probably not going to feel like the best self the next morning. And I'm not going to have as much energy as I could have. And when I'm drinking, I'm not going to probably be as present with my kids. And I actually only have my kids a portion of the time because I share custody with their dad. So when I do have my kids, I really want to be able to be present with them, to focus on them. And if I'm drinking wine every night when I'm making dinner or kind of towards the end of the day with them, I'm not really as present as I could be. And then as a business person, as an entrepreneur, I'm going to want as much energy during the day as I can get, and I'm going to want that mental clarity that doesn't necessarily come into play when wine is a daily occurrence for me. So I decided just over 2 weeks ago to cut it out. And then since I am also a coach for a TerraFit 12-week challenge, that is something that is negatively going to affect my challenge score. So with TerraFit, for those of you who may not know what TerraFit is, it's a fitness challenge that incorporates a lot of the doTERRA oils and supplements and products in a daily routine to really try and get back to that foundation of health and foundation of wellness. But on a daily basis, you're having to record the good foods that you're putting into your body, and then you're also deducting daily possible points that you can earn for any unhealthy or bad foods that you are consuming. And in the past, when I have done TerraFit challenges, especially the 12-week challenges, I just accepted that that glass of wine or couple glasses of wine are just going to knock off those points off of my daily total. But at this point, when I'm a coach and I know that I can actually get that full amount of points by not deducting for any wine that I'm drinking, I want to get that full amount of points, and I want my team to do that too. So I'm having to lead by example. But I have to admit that taking it out has definitely been a challenge. And for me, it's the mentality that comes with it. It's just such a habit for me that just reaching for it and using that to calm my system down is an automatic. I mean, it's been just over 2 weeks and I still almost drove to what we called the beer store. I almost drove to the liquor store on my way home the other day, just out of habit. So when I decided to just take a break, with this 12-week challenge, I may end up doing it for 12 weeks, but I initially wanted at least a month to just kind of reset my system, get my liver back into health where it should be, and try and find that mental clarity. Who am I? What am I trying to do with my business? That only comes when I am not kind of putting on that veil that comes with taking that nightly glass of wine. I'm hopefully going to be getting better sleep. I'm going to be more clear. I'm going to be more present. And to be honest, for me, it's kind of a scary process because I actually have to be present with myself. I can't just block out anything that's going on. So of course, as a doTERRA wellness advocate, I am going to automatically grab for my oils. So for anybody else who is possibly trying to see what other options are out there for using your oils instead of having a nightly beverage, these might be really beneficial for you. Just real quick, since I didn't throw it out there before, my name is Hillary Wolf, and I work with Adventures in EOs, and I help other people find freedom in every aspect of their lives through the use of doTERRA essential oils and products, and then also through self-growth, self-realization, and relationship building. So for not drinking, for me, it, at least at the beginning, and it still does after a couple weeks, cause some anxiety. So if I'm in a situation where I would have otherwise just grabbed a beer or poured myself a glass of wine, it's the beginning of April right now, but with March Madness on a Sunday afternoon, just sitting around watching a sports event on TV, I automatically want to grab for that. I think it's kind of a social thing to grab for that bevy or grab that beverage. And when I know that I'm not going to be doing that, it does create some anxiety. And I'm not talking about just, you know, oh, I'm kind of anxious, I'm kind of stressed. This is something where I can feel it physically in my chest. And that's how you know you maybe kind of need to make a change. But I can physically feel it in my person, in my chest. It feels like my muscles kind of want to jump out of my body. My heart kind of races a little bit. And at that point, I know that it's time to grab my oils. So what I grab for when I am feeling anxious, normally I grab for Balance. Let's see if I can, Balance, which is an awesome blend of essential oils that really take your nervous system down a notch. And Balance specifically helps those red blood cells throughout your system get unstuck to each other and thus travel more smoothly and more efficiently throughout your vascular systems, throughout your vasculature. My TV seems to have gone off mute for some reason. I think the cat stepped on the remote. So I will try to kind of speak up, but with that Balance, it's going to more effectively deliver oxygen to the rest of your body. So that's really going to help the anxiety, and this TV is going to drive me bonkers, so give me just a second while I turn it back on mute.
I didn't know. Okay, I understand. We all look like African American.
Hello to the joys of doing Facebook Live. So Balance is going to be a really great one to take your nervous system down a notch to really help with those anxious feelings and help appropriately deliver oxygen to your body so that your muscles can really calm down. I use this one before bed. To be honest, I take Balance with me absolutely everywhere. And every time, especially with sleep and stopping alcohol use completely, you may notice that when you're trying to wind down and go to sleep, your body is probably used to taking in that alcohol and using it as a sedative. So instead of using wine, now I am reaching for my Balance. Balance is not necessarily going to put you to sleep, but it's going to help ramp you down to get ready to sleep. And then with the Balance, a lot of times we call this our monster blend. I use Balance and Wild Orange. Wild Orange is going to be really uplifting and help you feel just calm. It's going to be uplifting and grounding at the same time. So it's going to help you feel calm. It's going to help you feel more confident. And it's also the oil of abundance. So it's going to help you feel like you have everything you need without that nightly beverage. On top of that, if for some reason there was one day I noticed the Balance wasn't hitting my anxiety with not having that glass of wine in hand. So I went ahead and I looked in my Modern Essentials book, and hopefully everybody who has a doTERRA account has this book. This is a must-have, and if you don't have this book and you need to know how to get it, let me know. But I looked in it under addictions, and one of the first ones that came up for me, which I immediately threw in the diffuser, was rosemary. Rosemary is going to help the detoxification process in your body when you're taking out something that's really not serving you both physically and mentally. Rosemary is really going to help with that detoxification process, especially when it's in the diffuser. And as an emotional oil, rosemary is the oil of knowledge and transition. So if you're trying to kind of transition from this is what I was doing, but it's not necessarily working for me, to let's try this new thing, let's see if this works better. Rosemary is really going to help you kind of open up to new options, to new solutions, and be okay with any potential new solutions. So being okay with the idea of not drinking is where rosemary comes in for me. So I threw that in the diffuser immediately. But another one that I noticed was copaiba. And you've probably heard me talk about copaiba before. This is absolutely 100% one of my very favorite oils. But copaiba is copaiba is a cannabinoid that works with your endocannabinoid system. So ultimately, copaiba is going to work with our neurotransmitters, with our hormones, with our inflammatory process, and it's going to help calm our nervous system, just as balance does. But copaiba is actually going to help bring you down a notch. So instead of grabbing for that nightly glass of wine, putting copaiba either on your person, putting it in the diffuser, or even putting one drop on your finger and then under your tongue, because your tongue is a major pore for your body to incorporate the oils into your entire system. Taking that oil internally is going to help your entire system. And if it's a habit, if it's an addiction, that copaiba is actually going to internally start to shift your physiology so that you may not need to crave that nightly glass of wine. Copaiba is also the oil, emotionally, is the oil of unveiling. So with copaiba, when you put it on yourself and you can smell it, when you put it in the diffuser and smell it, you are actually telling your brain that you're wanting to support it in really finding the real you. And for those of us, or for me at least, somebody who is reaching for a nightly beverage, it's a time to shut my brain off. But with copaiba, what you're doing is you're really looking on the inside, which might be a little bit scary, but it's supporting you on not having to shut that off and being comfortable with just sitting with you and not dulling any of those senses. So copaiba is a really great one. It has been shown to help with addictions, alcoholism especially, smoking. If your vice is smoking, go ahead and reach for that copaiba and start putting it on your body and in your diffuser and under your tongue to really start supporting your system and being okay with just being grounded and being you and not having to reach for whatever vice may be available for you. A couple other ones when balance doesn't work for me and my anxiety is kind of starting to act up because I'm not grabbing for that wine, I'm going to grab potentially for the emotional oils. So the touch emotional oils I really appreciate. Right now I have Peace. One of my kiddos swiped Console and I can't find it, but usually I use Peace and Console to calm my nervous system down and be okay with just being me without having a glass of wine or a drink. The other thing with Peace and Console is I personally get restless leg syndrome, and I get it worse when I don't have alcohol as a sedative to put me to sleep. So one of the only things that actually really helps me with that restless leg syndrome, especially now that I'm not drinking, is Peace and Console. And the roller balls, all I do is I literally just roll it on the bottom of my feet, and then I roll them both actually on my legs, which is where my restless leg syndrome really comes into play. So the emotional oils might be a really great one to calm any anxious feelings you might have, and also help you ramp down before bedtime. Another one that during the day actually is really helpful for me is vetiver. But vetiver, if you've ever used vetiver, comes from a grass and is really thick. So what I did is I put 20 drops in a 10 milliliter roller ball, and I put 20 drops of vetiver and then filled the rest up with fractionated coconut oil. And during the day, if I'm feeling anxious or maybe it's starting to get late afternoon, early afternoon, when I could otherwise potentially be grabbing for something, I feel like I'm done with my work for the day, I will grab my vetiver, which actually puts me to sleep when I put it on my big toes at night. But during the day, to help with anxiety, I will literally just roll this on my collarbone, and instead of putting me to sleep, putting it here helps with just the calming down of the system. So I keep my vetiver with me pretty much at all times. And then on top of that, we've got rose. And rose, and I've talked about this before, rose has the highest vibration of any essential oil on the planet. So when it comes to feeling like I'm on the right path or calming, rose is not only going to be uplifting, it's going to be calming, and it's going to help your personal system raise its vibration. And we can actually measure our personal vibrations on a frequency level, on a megahertz level. We can quantify it. And with rose essential oil, it helps bring our system all the way back up to where it's functioning at its optimal level. So with rose, not only does it really help me feel better about what I'm trying to accomplish, it helps me stick to my goals. It helps me when I might otherwise be frustrated with myself about wanting a glass of wine when I'm going through this process. It's going to help me with my own personal forgiveness. It's going to help me move forward. It's going to help me stay focused. And it's ultimately just going to bring that vibrational level and those emotions up to the optimal point that they can be. So rose, when I'm going through this process and I'm having to put on any oils for anxiety, after I've put on my oils for anxiety, rose is going to be my next automatic grab, and I'm just going to put it over the heart and then over the sternum. So not only can I smell it, and rose is actually one that has immense staying power, so that smell stays on you for quite a while. So not only am I going to smell it, but those molecules of the rose oil are going to go through my skin and into my body and into my system to then help my cells really raise their vibration and let go of that codependency, that need for a beverage. And then the last one that I like to use when I'm going through a process of not drinking a lot, I'm going to use Endocrine. So this comes in an oil form, but they've also put the Endocrine into a capsule form. And this is basically their detoxification blend, and it really helps support the liver. So if you're somebody who is using something to help calm you at the end of the day, and that something ultimately gets processed by the liver, this particular blend is going to help boost that those liver cells in regenerating, in really getting back up to snuff, especially if you are drinking and not using a lot of alcohol in your daily routine. Your liver is going to start to rebuild. So don't forget that our cells in our body really do actually rebuild, and basically every 7 years, your liver is ultimately a new liver, because it takes 7 years for all of the cells of your liver to regenerate and rebuild. So even just 2 or 3 weeks of not drinking alcohol is going to do a significant amount for those liver cells, but this detoxification complex is going to help support your liver as it starts to kind of reprocess and get back to the functioning level that it should be. And your liver is actually responsible for over 5,000 different functions in your body. So really supporting your liver and giving it what it needs through this kind of detoxification process is going to be extremely helpful for your overall energy, for your overall health, for how you are feeling emotionally and physically. Now, keep in mind that the Endocrine does have geranium in it, and I've mentioned this several times before, but geranium is one of my favorites because it is the oil of love and trust. So I put it in the diffuser all the time. I put it in my laundry when it's going through the dryer. I think it smells like relief. I think it smells like love. Most people actually don't like how geranium smells, but I love it. I think it's amazing. But with Endocrine, with the capsules, when you take them, you may end up burping geranium taste. I think it's fabulous. I think it's super fun. I love when I burp up that geranium and then I kind of taste it in my mouth and I'm like, ooh, geranium, my favorite. Nobody else that I've talked to actually enjoys that, so just keep that in mind. But it is an amazing one for helping support the liver through this whole process. So those are my recommendations for when you're trying to take something out that may not be serving you, what do you use to replace it in terms of oils or in terms of doTERRA supplements? So those are my recommendations for keeping anxieties down when you're trying something new, for trying to be as clear as you can and trying to keep your emotions high when you're going through a new process and taking out things out of your daily routine, and ultimately changing your habits and starting new habits. So I hope that was helpful for anybody who gets on the live. Please feel free to say hi, even if it's later on. And if you have questions, please feel free to throw those out on the live. And I hope you found this helpful, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great rest of your day.